Hey there, emerging expat. You're tuned in to Let's Move to Portugal. I'm Victoria from Expats Everywhere's podcast, and I have the distinct honor of bringing you, YouTube travelers, and our resident of Portugal experts, Expats Everywhere's Josh and Kaylee. Each week they'll inspire, they'll educate, and they'll accompany you on your journey to Portuguese residency. This week on Let's Move to Portugal, Jules opens up about her move from Maui to Lagos, including the challenges of navigating the move, the personal transformations she underwent, and launching a new business. To keep this podcast going strong, we've included a few brief ads. Thanks for supporting us by listening.
One of the most important pre-move things to consider involves your finances. Here's the cool thing. If you've moved already, it's not too late.
Yeah, that's right, because we met John a little late in our journey, but he certainly helped us make sure that we're on the right track.
John McNerney from Green Ocean Advisors is an American living in Lisbon with an office in San Francisco, which helps him have a pulse on both sides of the pond. John helps people understand where they're at before they take the plunge and move abroad.
As a financial advisor, John can help you understand your financial position no matter what stage of life you're in, whether you're curious about what your realistic retirement date is or how to invest your money post-retirement.
His love for finance and the differences between US and Europe have given him the ability to guide his clients in the right direction when it comes to investing and allocating funds. For example, you might want to sell your house before you become a tax resident here in Portugal, so you're not paying additional taxes here.
Josh and I have even talked to him on several occasions about some major life events that have happened to us and how to navigate them smartly from a financial perspective. If you'd like to be put in touch with John from Green Ocean Global, click on his Calendly link below to schedule a free consultation that he provides our viewers to see if he's the right fit for you.
Just make sure that you choose the Expats Everywhere intro call for your free consultation.
What is up, expats and travelers alike? Welcome back to the Expats Everywhere podcast. And as you can see, if you're watching on YouTube, I'm holding the camera. So we are not in our home studio in Porto, but we are on the road.
Currently, we are in Ljubljana, Slovenia. So we are traveling here on a road trip. And as we've mentioned before, we're going to do some comparisons with the cities here and cities in Portugal. That'll be part of the podcast. But yes, if you're watching and you're like, oh gosh, what's going on there? Hold tight. It's just for this episode. And then, next episode will be somewhere else. Hopefully a better setup. But we obviously wanted to give you the weekly welcome so this could come out in a timely manner.
Yes. So, okay. This week's episode, I sit down actually, with Jules, who moved from Hawaii to Lagos, and she talks about some of the reasons why moving and what it's been like for her adapting and starting a kind of a bit of a bootstrap business that was very much something that she saw a need for, that she could fill, like a gap in the market, if you will, and maybe a gap in the market that like Portuguese people wouldn't even realize is there.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Which I think's happened quite a bit since Americans have moved to Portugal. Mm-hmm. I feel like Americans are quite industrious in that way. Entrepreneurial, yeah.
Hey, I needed
Risk
this.
Takers.
I needed this. I think someone else might need this. I'm going to start this.
Yeah.
So she does that. And what I really like about this episode is we're down in Algarve. So
Yes.
we get to hear a little bit about Lagos, cost of living, lifestyle, how the Portuguese are down there. And then what's cool, it's a bit of starts off, I guess, a comparison between, since she was in Maui.
Yeah.
So how is Maui like and how does that compare to Lagos and the differences there? But obviously you'd think there's some similarities with the sun and the vibes. So
The vibes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, some of the reasons she moved, cost of living, healthcare. So I'm sure that, those two things hit home with a lot of people in our audience. Mm-hmm. But she also, we don't go into great detail, I guess, about where she moves with her husband, her partner, and then they end up getting a divorce.
Yeah.
So we do talk about that. But interestingly enough, it does happen. Interestingly enough, she ends up meeting a Portuguese guy and gets deeper into kind of Portuguese culture.
Yeah,
I think
she's dating.
she gets a better understanding of Portuguese culture for sure.
So before we get to the episode, we just want to say that last week we put out a video where Josh and I went camping. I think we kind of prepped you guys for this in recent episodes, but we went camping.
Yeah.
And so that vlog is out. And then moving forward the next couple of weeks, since we are traveling and it's August, we know you're traveling, you're out and about, we are taking a break as well for putting out videos. So videos on the main YouTube channel will start coming back out in September. So just a couple weeks off. But the podcast is not on break. It will continue to come out every Tuesday.
Correct. And we need to wrap up this weekly welcome welcome because my arms are getting tired.
If you see the movement of
holding
shaking.
the camera.
But yes, all right, so let's get to the chat
Heavy.
with Jules.
All right, let's do it.
We know that relocating can be stressful. Trust us, Portugal is the 5th country we've relocated to.
So it's nice to have someone helping you out, which is why we can confidently recommend Global International Relocation, which is a leading provider of relocation, moving, and mobility services.
They can support individuals, families, and even businesses when it comes to moving internationally.
I like how they're able to simplify the relocation process, and they help with everything you can think of, and actually even those things that you don't think of.
Of course, you have the immigration side of things, but there are aspects like pet relocation, shipping your car, moving household goods, and settling in that are all things they assist with. They're really comprehensive when it comes to mobility.
With over 17 years of experience and having expertise in over 180 countries, they aren't just for your move to Portugal.
So for personalized assistance, visit global.pt or get in touch with us for an introduction and to receive a personalized relocation quote. Jules, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today. I'm looking forward to diving in to all of the amazing stuff that is happening for you here in Portugal. But we've got to start at the beginning, which is why you moved to Portugal and where you moved from.
Okay, great. Josh, thanks so much for having me on. I'm so excited to share my story. I think I, like so many people, found myself living in America just working and not really living. I would take 3 months a year to travel to Europe, and I fell in love with Europe. And after COVID, I lived in Maui, Hawaii, and our island was closed for 7 months during COVID. And when we opened back up, we found that the aloha had left the island. We found a lot of anger. We found it wasn't as much of a joy to be living there, and not to mention it got so expensive. You know, for a glass of wine at happy hour in Maui, it's $16. In Portugal, I can buy 6 bottles of wine for €16. So really it came down to we were working to basically keep our health insurance because we were smart, we had saved, we were ready for retirement, but health insurance would have cost us $1,700 a month in America. And that was for catastrophic coverage with about a $12,000 deductible per person per year. So that's when the idea of, God, like, why don't we relocate to Europe? And our initial thought was to relocate to France. We loved Nice and that area. We love Italy, but we found that they don't really want us there. So we read books, watched podcasts, and found that the areas that we thought we were originally going to consider moving to, very expensive. The visa process was nearly impossible. And then we were hearing more and more about Portugal. And so we basically took a 3-month discovery trip in 2021. In October, we quit our jobs, took a chance, came to Lagos with a list of about 15 other places that checked all of our boxes here in the southern tip of Portugal. And that's what launched our move.
Very nice. Okay. So you actually made your move in April of 2022. So you've been here a bit. You've had time to settle in. It's been a good 3 years that you've been here. But I'm curious to know about this France and Italy thing real quick. So why did it feel like you weren't wanted there? What was that feeling exactly like?
That's a great question, Josh. So when we were researching the possibility of relocating and actually doing the visa process in France or relocating to Italy, the tax situation, I mean, you have to look at taxes. And I think some of us just have wanderlust and don't do the facts. We did a ton of research. So
that's so
tax-wise and the ease of getting a visa, which we came over on a D7 visa, a passive income visa, which, you know, even at that point became quite a laborious process, which even now I think it's become more so. But Portugal was the easiest place for us to come. And we also found, even in our travels in France and Italy, that although we love those countries, people are not as welcoming as Portugal. Just an example, I went to the grocery store and bought lemons when we were on our discovery trip. And I noticed a few of them when I got home were moldy. So I took them back to Pingo Doce, our main grocery store here, and the lady behind the counter gave me lemons from her tree. And I found the Portuguese, like I just got shivers. The country here is so amazing. We came for easy access to international travel, as well as cost of living. And now I am here for affordable healthcare, and I am here for the people. The people here are so amazing. If you try to speak a little bit of Portuguese with them, they will love you, they will adore you, they'll correct you kindly and not in a rude way. In France and Italy, as you might know traveling, like they can be a little abrasive. And especially moving from Hawaii, living in Hawaii for 10 years, where it's all about aloha and kindness and love. We just really felt the Portuguese people were so much more welcoming. So it kind of just pushed France and Italy out of the picture altogether. But now we go visit, love to go visit Paris. I'll go visit girlfriends in Paris for a weekend because I live here. So my 90-minute flight, 99 euro round trip, I get to go visit my girlfriends in Paris. And that's good for me.
Amazing. Okay. I think you summarized things really, really well there. And you hit on multiple things that I think people really desire. I mean, obviously, you're talking about the more affordable healthcare, you're talking about the access to Europe, but then you touched on something really important, which is something maybe you were a little bit aware of before the move, but has become aware over the past 3 years, which is the kindness of the Portuguese people.
Amazing. Absolutely. Absolutely amazing. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. And it's funny because when I first moved here, I was traveling all the time. And now this year, I have just kind of been settled. I have kind of also, which is a whole nother podcast, but my residency expired in October. And there's a little bit of a backlog there. So, but I've just really been at home and just really enjoying home and taking more time for self-care and the beaches and walks and just, so I haven't really been traveling lately, which is kind of interesting.
Well, tell us how you ended up in Lagos. I mean, is it close to Maui? Is it similar to that kind of kind of lifestyle? Because I would have thought you would have ended up in Madeira if you wanted Maui.
Okay, so I did go to the Azores. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I did go to the Azores last year, which was absolutely magical. My ex-husband, who I did move here with, I originally thought I wanted to move to Madeira or the Azores. And he's like, Jules, we already live on an island in Maui. You know, I never felt island bound, but one of the things we wanted to do was to have, access to public transportation, less than an hour away from the airport, trains. Like we came here, we did not have a car for the first year and a half. So ease of public transportation and getting around. And so Lagos, I did probably about 6 to 8 months of research before really pulling the gun on this. And Lagos, I came up with a list of 15 criteria, a boardwalk, access to beaches, access to public transportation, access to the airport, a village feel. I didn't want a big city. I absolutely love to go visit Lisbon for the weekends. We go every holiday for like 2 or 3 weekends just for the Christmas lights in Lisbon. Love Porto. What an awesome city. Oh my God. But Lagos is our vibe. Yeah. So it's everything I wanted here. And it's funny, the night that we got here, I'll never forget, October 22nd, 2021, I had my 12 or 15 other cities here in the southern tip of Portugal on my list. And the night we got here, we were like, this is it. We don't even need to go anywhere else. But we did do our due diligence for the 3 months that we were here. We did go to every city that I had identified that checked most of the boxes. For example, Tavira was one of those. We were there for 20 minutes. We're like, we did not like the vibe. It was not our vibe. We did not want to get on a boat to go to the beach. I live across the street from the beach. I just open up my back gate and I cross the street and I'm at the beach. So it's very similar to Hawaii, but people are always asking why. Like, why did you leave Hawaii? Here, it's the most stunning Gold Coast. We have the most amazing sea cliff hikes right close to my home. I can walk to one of the most beautiful hikes in the world. So Lagos just checked all the boxes. And I grew up in Portland, Oregon, and I left to Hawaii because of the rain. So for example, Porto, I don't think I could survive Porto in the winter because I already grew up in Portland, Oregon, and I'm not a lover of the rain. And so that immediately checked that off, saying we love to go visit, but we can't live there.
Yeah. So just visit when it's not raining here.
And you know what? Every time I've gone, it's been absolutely beautiful.
Really?
Beautiful.
Okay. Fair
I've
enough.
never had a rain day there. Like, knock on wood, every time I go
Yeah.
once or twice a year, and every time I go, I'm just hopeful that I'll get the sun again.
When do you visit? Just curious.
Okay, so we did a 3-day riverboat cruise
Okay.
off of Gaia, and
Yep.
that was in June last
Good
year.
weather.
And we
Yeah.
happened to go during the Sajau Festival.
São João. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Portuguese, well,
You're-
that's a whole nother podcast, is
It's
Portuguese.
okay.
So it was so
I'm on
cool.
my own journey as well. Don't worry.
Oh my gosh.
I think
So
we all are.
the day we got there, we're walking around and we ended up being there during that festival.
Amazing.
It was awesome. So I've been in June. Mainly I go like in the May, June, and once I went in October. And I've never had bad weather, but I've never visited when I knew that I had to pack a fleece jacket or rain boots. It's just not
Yep.
my vibe. So I usually
Yep.
go during the nicer time. And I've been really lucky. I've done 2 Douro Valley cruises, and both of them, it was not too hot, which I understand during the summer it can be a little hot.
Can be.
One year I went right before the harvest. So it was late
Amazing.
September. It was actually, was
Yep.
it late September? Because one year it was really
Yep.
late. So I love Porto. It's amazing. But I've only had good weather.
Okay, so this isn't a Porto podcast, but I will say you have come to Porto at times that are almost guaranteed when you're not going to have rain. So kind of
Exactly.
that June for sure, but sometimes in May maybe get some rain, but May is usually a good month up until about October, and then after that it can you can have rainy days. But
See, I did my
Kaylee,
research again.
yeah, you did. Kaylee and I survive here, no problem. Let's touch on Lagos though.
Okay.
So tell me some more about what it's like living there, because a lot of people consider Algarve as being a place that can be a bit dead during the winter because it's so kind of tourism focused. But
Love it.
I think that stigma is changing a bit. What are you seeing? You've been there 3 years.
Yeah, so I will tell you this winter was much busier.
Hmm.
Okay, so Josh, this is so interesting you asked me that because during our discovery trip, keep in mind, we were here for Christmas. And so we came end of October and it was beautiful. We were wearing shorts and t-shirt and cute hats and all that. And then all of a sudden, everything was closed and it was crummy weather and humid but wet. And then Christmas arrives. So Christmas morning, we get up to think, what are we, like, hopefully we'll go to a restaurant. Nothing was open. And what I love, and another reason we moved here, they honor and value their people and their families. So yeah, it's closed. People are on holiday because it's not about the American dollar, where I worked for Nordstrom for 9 years and I worked every Thanksgiving, every Christmas. Here they give time off. So the first year we were here, it was a little difficult, but what we've learned is now that we have our network of people, that's what makes the difference. So you're still doing the hikes. Hiking Algarve is a group I'm active in. So that's when most of our hikes are, is during the fall and winter, because summer's a little too hot to hike. We're still hiking. It's peak pickleball season. We play pickleball about 4 days a week during then. So now we have yoga on the beach. I have a group that does yoga twice a week on the beach here. So as a tourist, it's much quieter here in the winter. But once you settle in and you have your tribe and your community, it's amazing. And all of our favorite restaurants that we like to visit frequently, they're open. So I think as a tourist, you're probably going to different restaurants than I go to. I now go to traditional Portuguese restaurants. So they're open. So I do think you bring up a great point for people coming to check it out. I think you should come during what is potentially the worst time of the year to see if you could survive it. Because some people may not be able to survive the winter here. And I will tell you, it was a horrible winter this year. We had rain and wind and cold for 3 months. It was like Portland, Oregon. And then during the summer, it's really busy. But again, I'm not going out to, I still call it a village, which I date a Portuguese man now, and he hates that I call Lagos a village. It's a city, he said, but I call it a village. And I'm not really going into the village right now because, again, I have my activities that are taking me to other places versus in the heart of town right now. So I think as you live here and build your community, it doesn't matter what time of year it is. It's amazing. I love it.
Mm.
It's so awesome here. Oh my gosh, and the ocean is so warm right now. I will be honest, I was really spoiled living in Maui. The water is like bathwater. And I
Hmm.
went for my first like champagne picnic dinner. It's been so hot here for about a week and a half. So we'll venture out about 6 o'clock and take a healthy picnic and some champagne and our pickleball stuff and games, board games. And we go down to the beach for about 5 hours and swim. That's our evening activity now, is we go down to the beach at night, and that's when we get our exercise. And so it's a really great life, and you don't have to spend a lot of money to be entertained because there's so much natural beauty here to keep you fully engaged and fully entertained. And if you want, you can go to Porto for the weekend or Lisbon for the weekend, or I have a car now, but I can go get the train and go to Farragudo for the day if I want to have a few drinks there and not drive. I'll just take the train, and that's my day trip. And so
Nice.
it's an amazing, amazing place. And one of the reasons we chose Lagos is because it's considered kind of like Santa Cruz, California, weather-wise and kind of vibe-wise. And it is. And I don't surf, and it's a little too rough for paddleboarding here. But it's a huge surf community, which surprised me, huge windsurfing. So it's a very active community. Everybody here is extremely active, which I love.
Well, you also made a good distinction for people talking about the water is like bath water, because it is a different coast compared to kind of, I want to say, the rest of Portugal being along the Atlantic, because the Atlantic is cold, yet there's this coast to the south that we have here in Portugal that spans Algarve, and it's warm water. That sea is much, much warmer. So I'm really glad that you brought that up.
So nice. But Josh, it's not that way, but other like 3 months of the year, like July, August, September. That's about it. Oh gosh, what do they call it here? The baño, is it August 29th? We have the annual bath where it like
Okay.
cleanses you. Baño, I forget the name, but it's August 29th. And the last 2 years, I've not been able to get in the ocean because it's been too cold. And it was like kind of stormy evenings.
Okay.
Very pleasantly surprised when I got into the ocean, and I really didn't want to get out. It was lovely,
Nice.
really beautiful.
Well, I did want to bring up something that could be a little, I don't know, culturally touchy, certainly when discussing the region of Algarve, because you're naming some of these groups that you're in, the
Mhm.
hiking group, the pickleball
Yeah.
group. Are there a lot of locals that are in these groups as well,
Yes.
or is it mainly
Yes.
foreigners? Talk to me.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. I would say it's probably an eighth of the people are Portuguese, and
Okay.
the rest, it was so fun. One of the hikes I did on hiking Algarve, I was the only American speaker. Do you know how fun that was for me? It was Dutch, German, Portuguese. I was the only one on that hike that spoke English. And I am in such a bubble here where it's so many different nationalities, and I love
Mm.
it because just like I never acknowledge the UK humor. I love the UK people and the humor. It very dry. I didn't know what a jumper was. I thought it was like a baby jumper. I didn't know. I came home one day to let my boyfriend know I bought 3 pairs of new pants. Well, pants are underwear. So
Underwear.
he was super excited that I bought 3 pairs of new pants, but I bought 3 pairs of linen trousers. All of
Mm.
like you're learning about different cultures here every single day. So, and pickleball, we have a lot of, I guess you call them snowbirds. A lot of people are coming here, on their discovery trips, or they come here for the winter. So we have our annual people that come back every year they started out 2 weeks and now they're here for 3 months because they love us so much.
Yes.
So
Okay.
I would say about an eighth of the people are Portuguese, but the gentleman that operates the pickleball center here that I go to is Portuguese. And he says we make him young. He loves us. He has built out his center for us. And all of his Portuguese friends are there, and they love us because we're kind and we have fun. And at all the parties that we all have as a group now, they're always invited. So it's not a huge Portuguese population, but they definitely are here and they're always welcome. And I think it's because, Portuguese, unfortunately, I don't think they get to take their what we call in America retirement, until they're 67 or 68. So most of them are working, well, almost into their 70s here. And also because of their income here is so low that it doesn't really allow for them to put money away for the future like we have in America. So they work very hard. And I think that's the main reason why they probably don't join us more.
Okay. Yeah. Because there's not this idea of like the FIRE movement that has hit
No,
Portugal.
not
And
here.
for those that don't know, that's financial independence, retire early.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there's kind of a much more traditional work structure. Okay.
And can I bring up
Yeah,
another
go ahead.
point? And I don't mean to
Sure.
distract, and especially because I date
it's
a
okay.
Portuguese man and I've been with him for 2.5 years now. So I'm very well into the Portuguese community now. One of the things I love about the Portuguese people, money is not really important to them. They don't have, the majority of the ones that I am acquainted with have never owned a credit card. They don't have a savings account. What's important to them is they go to work and they work really hard. They have their 2.5-hour lunch every day, which there's no cell phones during lunch. They are eating, they are drinking, they are all talking, camaraderie. I think I just said the word wrong. Weekends are for family. You go to the beach and there's 3 or 4 generations of Portuguese people on the beach. I love it because all the ladies, every generation is in a bikini, no matter what she looks like. Great grandma, grandma, mom, daughter. And there are no cell phones. Often I will post a video of what the beach looks like on the weekend here. And my friends back in America comment, gosh, there's not one cell phone. I'm like, I know. So they're very engaging. So their goals are very different than what we had in America, where ours was to work really hard, put money away, have more, have bigger, have better. Here, it's a very simple life and they don't mind working. I think for the most part, they really enjoy it. And it's a really slow, easy way of life.
Nice. Okay. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
I want to transition us a bit
Yeah.
to talk about some of the things that you did when you initially set up the move and some critical things that you found important that you want to share with the audience, because you've kind of prepared a bit of a list of things that you want to warn people about. So let it rip.
Okay, so first of all, I'm really bummed because I did look for my Portuguese planning notebook before our podcast today, because I wanted to kind of go through my notebook of what I had, a whole, hot pink sparkle notebook of all of my, everything Portugal. I think one of the most vital things, and I cannot emphasize this enough because I'm on so many Facebook groups and people say, where should I move in Portugal? What does it cost? Americans and Friends PT is a Facebook group that I found invaluable and vital to my success of coming here. And so I think, first of all, I don't know if it was it was a podcast of yours that I watched where a gentleman had moved and he had never been to Portugal before. They just packed up and left. And it was a podcast where unfortunately they ended up going back to America. But they hadn't really done a lot of research or anything coming here. So I think a really important thing is really coming up with your list of what's important to you, where do you want to be, what is your budget, and then researching those groups. And then once I was here, I found a couple challenges as simple as setting up my electricity and my water in my apartment. I had to rent here for my D7. I hired someone for that. I hired someone for my NIF, and I hired someone to make an introduction at Millennium Bank. So there were a few elements that no matter how much research I did, for me, it was more important to hire a professional to do it. So I think you really, instead of just going on a Facebook group and saying, where should I move to? You have to know what's really important to you for your move, and also budget. It is not cheap to relocate here. We spent over $10,000 just in the flights. Initial startup cost, for the apartment, 3 months rent. We didn't live here for 6 months because we had to go back to America to get, the visa process worked through. Very much 4 months. So I think I'm a planner, so I think it's just really important to have a really good idea of what you're looking for to help settle you in the right area and truly what a budget is. I'm not going to use the resource, but many of us followed a particular group and they said that you could rent an apartment for around $700 here. Not true. They said you could live for under $12,000 a year. Not true. So know your facts and you have to have a certain amount of money put away to be comfortable with making this transition as well.
Yeah, I mean, those things might have been true in 2020, but things happened really fast. Certainly with the real estate market here,
Yes.
prices exploded between
Yes.
2020 and 2022, and there's still some areas of the country that are on the rise. So one resource that we had discussed was tax preparation.
Yes.
So
Yes.
what did you do for tax preparation? Did you do things before moving, or did you find somebody once you moved here to Portugal?
So I found somebody once I moved to Portugal, and
Okay.
I think that one of the things we have to realize just as human beings are just some things that we're not good at. And I'm not really great at accounting or taxes. So I hired a professional. I think on one of my Facebook groups, I found Rui Borges with Goal Seekers. And one of the things I found in Portugal, which Josh, I don't know if it's as bad in Porto, but you could email someone and maybe never hear back, maybe 5 days, and then it's still lackadaisical. Communication is not great here. Rui, I had messaged him, and like within 20 minutes, which is probably not typical, but within 20 minutes, I got a response. He is not here in Lagos, so we set up a video call, and he put my mind, I had a list of my 12 questions for him, and he put my mind at ease, and I've been working with him ever since. Again, going on 3 years. I will tell you, I hired another tax professional my first year living here, and it showed that I owed 5,000 euro in taxes in Portugal. And like, how could that be? I live off of savings. I have no income. And she couldn't explain it to me. And so when I hired Rui, I said, so I paid the 5,000, not really knowing that's a lot.
Why?
Not really knowing living off savings. Not really knowing why I was paying it, but my accountant, who was horrible, couldn't explain it to me. So with Rui, I showed him my taxes that had been submitted. Within 2 days, he already had notification from the IRS here in Portugal that it was not prepared correctly, and I got my money back within 6 weeks. So Rui, to me, is worth his weight in gold. I personally referred probably over 50 people to him because not only is he responsive and a great communicator, he actually identified a boo-boo that somebody else did that would have cost me 5,000 euro. And that's a lot of money here, especially when you're retired and you're not working. And that's a lot of money. So he was a professional that I highly suggest and truly believe in. He's amazing.
Awesome. Okay. And you've been using him for a couple of years now as well.
Yeah, this will be my 3rd year. Because the first year I went with somebody else who did me a huge disservice and cost me a lot of money. So he fixed the boo-boo, and then I've been working with him ever since.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah. I mean, he's someone that we've also gotten in contact with because many people reach out to us looking for accounting services, and we don't want to just rely on one. So we have several people that come recommended from people like yourself, and we share that contact information. So, okay, awesome. I think I need or want to address the other elephant in the room, which is you have talked about your husband, ex-husband, and now your boyfriend, Portuguese boyfriend.
Yes.
So I want to talk a bit about what happens to people when they make these kind of moves and these big life changes, because you moved over with your American husband from Maui, and there was a lot that changed emotionally. So can you tell us what happened?
I am the only expat that I know that's gotten divorced here. And I did actually get a divorce in Portugal because this is where I live. Which I'll go into that in a minute. But so my marriage in my eyes was perfect. Everybody wanted to be us. We just have always created this dream life. We moved from Portland, Oregon to Maui, Hawaii together till we downsized, loved our jobs and lived an amazing life there for 10 years. And then made this move to Portugal, which not very many people get to say. They not only moved to Hawaii, but then they moved to Portugal as well. Some really significant things happen. You retire from a job that you love. And for him, it was also a job where he was in power. And I was 55, he was 65. So he's a little bit older than me. You sell your home. You come over here with 11 suitcases, which was our case. We didn't want to bring a bunch of stuff over because we're not about stuff. So we brought over 11 suitcases of our life. You leave behind your family, you leave behind your friends, you leave behind life as you knew it. And when we were back in Maui selling our home, I found out a couple secrets that did not set well with me. But what I also learned is that it was too much for him. This move, we managed 2 homes for almost a year. So we kept the Hawaii home and the home here in Lagos. And so it was too much. And I'm surprised that not more people go through what I went through. I believe he had a midlife crisis. He fell apart, and he fell apart bad. And so then I found myself living in this brand new, beautiful country and just on my own. But thank goodness I had started building a community which I could fall on. And a couple of my friends from America came to support me for a couple months as well because I fell apart. But yeah, I'm the only person that's gotten a divorce in Portugal. I will tell you, when I called an attorney in Maui, it would have cost me around $18,000 for a divorce. We'd already sold our property. We don't have kids together. We had no dogs. We'd sold our car. So we're just talking easy, simple divorce.
Just to file the paperwork.
Yeah, 18,000. And
Wow.
they also said, but we can't help you. You're going to need to get divorced in Portugal because you live in Portugal. That's where your home is. And so I did hire a lawyer, which is not someone I would personally recommend, but
We'll leave his name out of it, or her
yeah,
name.
yeah, of course. I mean, it wasn't a good fit, but the good news is I did get divorced for under €1,000
Okay.
in Portugal. Very simple. It was a simple process. And again, we didn't have any baggage or anything other than just money together. But yeah, so I am the only person that I know of. Do you know if anyone has gone through a divorce yet, Josh? Or am I the only one?
Okay, so I don't know if I do actually, but I do know that it's really common that there can be friction in relationships certainly when one person like pushed the move. And I don't know if this is your case, but I'm just saying, like, Kaylee and I've been living abroad for 16 years now.
Wow.
And we have noticed that when a couple moves together and they're not like in lockstep with the move, or like you said, the move kind of changes one person and the other person changes like in a different direction, then there becomes this friction between one wants to go back, the other one wants to stay, and therefore they have to make a decision. Now, in this case, we actually have, not in Portugal, but in other places we've lived, we've seen where people have gotten divorced because one wants to move back and they do, and the other one is dead set on staying and they do.
Mm-hmm.
Now, at other times, they end up moving back. That's generally the most common solution. When one wants to stay, the other one wants to go, they usually go back to their home countries. And this has been America, Canada, UK, like we've seen it in our different communities in those circumstances. How did you meet your Portuguese boyfriend? Yeah.
So at a bar. So
Okay.
on St. Patrick's Day a few years ago, over 2 years ago, I was out with my girlfriends and beautiful women here, 6 of us. And we walked into one of the bars here and he was there and we met, and he's beautiful and wonderful and he's got a huge heart.
Okay. So, I mean, that's interesting. You've been together for 2.5 years.
Yeah. We've been together 2.5 years. We actually just started a business here in Lagos together.
Yeah.
It's awesome because it's a great relationship because I am, from America. I have a strong business background. I've owned businesses and sold businesses, and Enrique, my boyfriend, is a little bit more simple and he plays football and he speaks Portuguese. In fact, he's a translator. He speaks about 6 different languages. Coming together and building a business together has been kind of cool because we complement each other because we're so different. We're on totally different spectrums.
But that means that you can cover the business pretty well. Let's actually talk about the business because it's really interesting that you started a business. I think that certainly for people that are interested in moving to Lagos, the business is super helpful. So talk to us about HomeWatch Lagos.
Yeah, and I didn't, as I mentioned earlier, Josh, like my idea of wanting to be on your podcast is not about pitching my business because I'm the person that comments on all the Facebook groups and about what to do, what not to do, and my recommendations. I love to help people because I've been there and I've done that. So my goal is to share my move with you and what happened and how I've survived and thrived. But, So, in talking to people over probably the last 9 months and meeting people at pickleball and out on hikes, all these people making these transitions to Portugal, and they want to buy a place here, but they're only going to be here twice a year, or they're going to buy a place here and it's going to be a 2-year remodel. They bought a place here. A lot of the expats, they travel 6 months of the year. They retired and they want to travel, so they're leaving their home unattended and relying on the professionals that they hire, such as pool cleaners or housekeepers and so forth, to just kind of keep the home going. So that's where the idea came to fruition. Is there's so many people here, about 60% of the people here own a villa or a home that's left unattended for over 6 months a year. So what happens to it? So we launched a business called HomeWatch Lagos, and that's where we go into your home, whether it be weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly. And we created like a 42-point checklist of things that we want to check off when we're in your home to make sure that there's not a bigger problem. I think we all know, and you all have heard about the moisture issues in Portugal. So a very small leak or black mold finding could create, a $40,000 to $80,000 mishaps.
Problem.
What do you do with your car while you're gone? What do you do with your plants? What do you do when there's a package being dropped off? So basically, we offer a home watch business where we can go in, do the checklist. If you're having remodeling or anything done, we can go in and take photos and videos. We can meet people. We have a key holding service. We offer a service where when you're coming back home, we can fill up the fridge. We can put the furniture out by the pool. We can make sure that when you walk in, that you're going to have coffee in the morning, yogurt, that all the pool furniture's out. So it's really flexible. It's nothing set in stone. It's just something we created that we felt there was a real need. And coming from America, in Florida and Arizona, the service is huge for all the snowbirds. And so there is no business like that in the Algarve, which is crazy. So we're just eyes and ears for when you're away. So it's pretty cool.
That's very cool. It's a really cool idea. And it seems like it's a need, especially there in a place, like you said, where people will leave their homes unattended for such long stretches of time. I didn't ask you to prep this, but I'm curious to know, what would it cost to have a gardener, someone clean your pool, and do like some of these other like little maintenance things in kind of your area?
Okay, so that is such a good question. It's actually pretty reasonably priced. Like to have your pool and depending on, of course, what the landscaping is, nothing is too extreme here. But I mean, it's like €200 to €400 a month, which is really not that much, because basically our client would be more villas, minimum 2,
larger
3.
properties.
Yeah, a little bit larger properties and also freestanding. So, but if you're counting on the pool person coming, and what we have found, which also helps our business, is a lot of the pool people say they're coming, but they didn't come for a few weeks. So if we're stopping by every week and then we see that the pool pump is stopped, then we can correct the problem before it creates a much more expensive, larger problem.
Yep. Okay. Before the water goes green.
Yeah. I mean, it's, again, you rely on people for services, but I think when people are absent for so long, people might take a little bit of advantage.
Yeah. And that happens also, like literally anywhere, whatever country.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, and it's kind of shoved under the rug a little bit. One of the reasons we also chose Portugal is because of the safety of the country. It's a very safe country, but we are finding within this last year, we're hearing more stories of break-ins, of people moving into properties that are left unattended. So I think it's really important, especially I don't know if you're hearing more about that in Porto lately, but we're really hearing more about that in the last 6 to 8 months. Nothing extreme, but it does happen. Knowing that someone is stopping by a home and lights are on, or something has changed, if someone is actually keeping watch of that home to either break in or whatnot, it's important to have a presence in the home. So, it's pretty cool. And it got stimulated just from talking to people doing activities. And it's like, this is a service that's definitely necessary here. And we love it. And it's flexible, and we're helping people. And really, in the end of life, like if you're helping someone, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, right on. I just wanted to touch on the safety thing because you kind of asked me there, like if we're seeing it in Portugal. I think the biggest thing that we see, and it's been like this since we've moved, has been car break-ins. And it's not
Yes.
like car theft, but someone will walk by. I guess I don't know because I'm not a thief, but someone walks by the
Good to know.
car and they see something inside. They're like, I'm going to take that, and they smash a
Mhm.
window. Which there you go. You've got to replace the window. And then they've stolen whatever it is sitting there, whether it's a bag or a laptop or whatever. I mean, that would be like the main thing we hear about. But we don't know a lot of people with landed homes here as well, which might be easier targets. It's probably
Right.
more difficult to break into a building where, there's neighbors like that are closer. You're living on top of each other
Right.
in a way. Yeah. So we don't hear about that as much.
Okay.
But again, we don't know that many people that live in landed homes. Whereas, where you live, it's probably much more common.
Right. And it's a lot more, when I say freestanding, it's more like there's 4 attached villas.
Yeah.
Maybe there's 8 total, and
Yep.
they could be a little bit more out in the country, or it could be on the ocean. But I don't believe we have as many buildings as like you have, meaning apartment buildings.
Apartments, yeah.
So, and another thing too, how many people are doing Airbnb? And although we don't want to run Airbnb here, how many people turn their place? But did the cleaner come in and clean? Is everything left how it should be for the next renter coming in? So we also have a couple clients that just have us do like a check to make sure that everything's in order before the next person checks in. So, and it's funny, when we went back, we got our apartment December 2021 to get the visa process started. And when we left our apartment, our landlord said, well, you need to hire someone to water the plants because these plants are part of your patio and they have to be alive. And we're like, oh my God, like who do we hire just to water plants while we're gone? Well, if there was a service like us, then we could have hired us. But it's amazing. There are apartment buildings, but even with patios that still need care too.
Yep. Right on. Jules, at Expats Everywhere, we believe that living abroad transforms lives. How has living abroad transformed your life?
Wow. It's a dream. Like it's a dream. I have to pinch myself almost every day. I'm so grateful for this opportunity to live here. Again, like being exposed to all these different cultures and living a quieter, more peaceful life that I can actually afford, and getting on a plane and being in Paris 90 minutes to meet my friends, or going to a yoga retreat in Morocco that my round trip ticket was €90 to go to Morocco. I am so grateful, and I feel like anybody, if that thought is entering your mind about, gosh, is this something I should do? Take a chance. I think unless we take a chance and do this, we never know. You can always go back to where you came from, but I am a true believer in minimalism, living with less and having a much bigger life. I live in a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom apartment. I don't have a lot of stuff. I would much rather have more life. I feel that the smaller footprint you have, the less stuff you have, the bigger your life is. There is so much to be seen over here, and it's such a lovely country, and I'm so grateful. I have so much gratitude. So I'm a believer, and it was the best decision I ever made. And this has absolutely nothing to do with politics or anything. It's just affordable cost of living in just a really awesome place. Really awesome place.
Awesome, Jules. Thanks so much for sharing with us today.
You're
Have a great
welcome.
day.
Thank you for having me on, Josh. And good luck
You're
to
welcome.
you guys as well. Okay.
Great chat.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.